Before I start the video, if this is your first time coming across the channel, or if you're not subscribed, please hit the sub button. On the road to 600 and then 1,000 and on. So yeah, hit the sub button. If you enjoy anything you hear, you're enjoying the style of the video or whatnot, hit the sub button. But anyway, this video today is all about President Trump because, I mean, it's President Trump. It's just such an easy thing to talk about, President Trump. So basically, Donald Trump, the big headline for today with President Trump is Trump denounces cancel culture at July 4 event. So basically, the thing about this, which I find so interesting, Trump versus cancel culture, so to speak, and cancel culture in general, I find it so interesting because the culture we're in society is one where cancel culture is running amok on all forms of social media and in culture in general. Like, especially on Twitter, I swear, Twitter in general, especially political Twitter, the amount of times you see people come out of the blue with some random tweet from 9 years ago or some soundbite from some famous person from 30 years ago and try to use that to cancel them. Personally, I find it a bit unnerving. It's just a little bit. I don't love it. I really don't. Like, the whole notion of cancel culture. Now, that's my brief kind of feelings on cancel culture. Basically, the whole thing with this is, well, I'll read like the first bit of this article for you, and then I'll get into some more discussion. So, US President Donald Trump has rallied against cancel culture of those who toppled monuments during recent anti-racism protests. In a speech to mark 4th July at Mount Rushmore, he condemned those who targeted statues of Confederate leaders as angry mobs, which Trump's always good with his terminology and phrasing. Angry mobs is the latest one of that. Mr. Trump called the racial equality demonstrations a merciless campaign to wipe out our history, defame our heroes, erase our values, and indoctrinate our children. We will not be silenced, he said. So Trump goes on and whatnot. I'm not going to recite a full Trump speech. That's all I'm here to do. Basically, this, just for a little bit of other context in case you're not aware, basically, Trump is giving this speech at Mount Rushmore. So obviously, Mount Rushmore, a famous location. It's American Independence Day. It makes sense to give a speech there. Interestingly enough, masks and social distancing were not mandatory at the event. Thought I'd just throw that in there. I don't love that. I mean, ideally, you're as safe as possible with taking anti-coronavirus precautions, but it is what it is. I don't love that either. But anyway, basically, the whole thing about cancel culture, just going back to this and kind of talking about it in general, I find cancel culture, it's such a 2020 thing, you know, like, as someone who has been growing up on the internet for the past, decade myself, I find it, I just hate how the internet is nowadays with cancel culture. It was never like this 5-10 years ago. It just wasn't. The internet was such a easy place to use. You didn't have to worry about saying one wrong word on Twitter and having an army of people try and cancel you. Now, obviously, I'm not in the position where I can be fully cancelled over one thing I say. I have had run-ins with, stands on Twitter and whatnot, but I'm not anywhere near, a public figure to the point where I can be cancelled myself, so I don't have full personal experience. But the whole cancel culture itself is just damning. It really is. Cancel culture is a damning thing, because cancel culture, it sets a dangerous precedent going forward that anyone who particularly the left disagree with. That's what I found as someone who looks at this from the kind of more so the outside. Particularly when someone is disagreed with by the left, it's just going to lead to this cancellation culture. This culture of, we're going to dig up anything and everything we can find on you, on this one person, and use it to prompt a cancellation, to prompt this, prompt that. And President Trump rallying against cancel culture is not surprising. Alright, Trump deals with cancel culture more than anyone on the planet. He really does. If you've seen Trump's Twitter, I mean, Trump's Twitter is a meme in itself. If you're not following Trump's Twitter, it's definitely worth a follow. Donald Trump on Twitter is one of the most entertaining accounts to follow, because whether you fully agree, fully disagree, or you don't care, it's just priceless seeing what he tweets and how that's responded to, because the top 4 replies are always anti-Trump, I find, the tweets I've seen of Trump. So just seeing Trump tweet out something and then being completely contradicted by people who clearly want to cancel him, people who are pro-left, anti-Trump, I find it fascinating. And Trump addressing cancel culture in this way at a at a Mount Rushmore event for American Independence Day. I find him, talking about cancel culture of people who toppled monuments during recent anti-racism protests. I think it's an interesting talking point. People, obviously toppling monuments at recent anti-racism protests. I mean, that one's such a tricky issue. Obviously, monuments, it depends monument to monument, that's the thing. What does each individual monument stand for? Does that monument have the best of intentions? Is the reason for the monument pure and the reason for the monument okay? It really depends. Alright, if you're toppling over monuments of, literally sacred individuals who have paved the way for society, then you're just a scumbag. But if these are monuments which genuinely just are being destroyed for no reason during protests, it really is a pure demonstration of cancel culture. Cancel culture itself is very dangerous. It's seen all too much in modern day society. Personally, I feel like it just needs to go. But will it? Will cancel culture go? Do you think cancel culture is going to go? Do you really? I mean, I don't think cancel culture is going anywhere. Quite frankly, I think cancel culture is going to get worse. Given, for one, the American political scene, which, in case it's your first time watching one of my videos, I'm Australian. Australian politics is no better, really, than America. Australian politics is just ScoMo, and there's just a bunch of everyone, like everyone else. Everyone hates ScoMo or loves him, or politics is just a bit of a mess. That's the best way to describe politics. Political Twitter, especially, is one of the worst places you can be. As someone who has experienced wrestling Twitter to death, wrestling Twitter's not good, but political Twitter, oh my god. Political Twitter, hold your horses, dude. So, anyway, politics, cancel culture, it runs amok, especially just worldwide now. Cancel culture itself. Personally, cancel culture, I just believe it needs to go. But once again, will it? God, no. Cancel culture is going to keep getting worse based off of who's, going to be running for, president next year. Given that Trump's running again, and given that Biden's running, it's just, there's going to be more cancel culture than ever. Cancel culture is just, I don't know, it's not for me, fam. So, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, sub, all that stuff, leave down below what you think of cancel culture, what you think of President Trump making the comments about monuments being toppled during anti-racism protests and how that's cancel culture and all this kind of stuff. Have an interaction down below. You guys do the work and whatnot. Leave down below what you think. Hit the like, comment, sub, all that kind of good stuff. See ya.